He didn't know she was a giant snake till their wedding night. The dense forest of Okija was feared by many. Legends spoke of ancient spirits and beasts lurking within its shadows. Yet Duro, the village's strongest hunter, feared no creature. He was relentless, known for his daring expeditions into the depths of the wild. One day, while tracking a leopard that had slaughtered livestock, Duro ventured into the heart of the forest, a place no man dared enter. After hours of pursuit, he found the leopard's mangled corpse. Its neck had been crushed, and its body dragged across the ground by something with immense power. Duro crouched by the carcass, examining the tracks left behind. They didn't match any animal he knew. A chill ran down his spine as the trees around him seemed to close in. The air grew colder, and a soft cry echoed through the forest. "Who's there?" Duro called out, rising to his feet and gripping his spear. From the shadows, a woman emerged. Her beauty was breathtaking. Her deep brown skin glowed under the filtered sunlight, and her large, luminous eyes were filled with fear. She appeared fragile, her long black hair falling in waves over her bare shoulders. She wore only a simple cloth tied around her body, and her feet were covered in dirt and cuts. "Please," she whispered, "don't hurt me. I'm lost." Duro lowered his weapon slightly but kept his guard up. "What are you doing out here? This part of the forest is dangerous." I don't know how I got here," she said, her voice trembling. "I woke up here days ago. I've been wandering ever since. Please, I need your help." Duro frowned. Something about her felt off. No ordinary woman could survive in this part of the forest. Yet, as he stared into her pleading eyes, his suspicion softened. "You're lucky I found you before something else did," he muttered, motioning for her to follow him. "Come, I'll take you back to the village." The woman nodded and walked beside him, her movements graceful yet unnervingly quiet, as if she were gliding over the forest floor. Days passed, and Ada, as she introduced herself, became a mystery that fascinated Duro. She spoke little of her past, claiming she had no memory of her life before the forest. Despite this, she charmed everyone in the village with her beauty and gentle nature. Duro found himself drawn to her in ways he couldn't explain. The way she smiled, the way her voice soothed him, he had never felt this way about any woman. They began spending more time together, often meeting by the river under the moonlight. Their conversations turned into passionate embraces, and soon, Duro could no longer deny his desire for her. One night, as they lay entwined by the water, he whispered, "Ada, marry me." Her body tensed against his, and she pulled back slightly. "Are you sure, Duro? You don't know everything about me." "I don't care," he replied, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "All I know is that I want you by my side. Forever." Ada's eyes darkened briefly, as if some internal struggle raged within her. But then she smiled, a bittersweet expression on her face. "If that's what you truly want, I will marry you." Preparations for the wedding began immediately. The entire village celebrated, though whispers of doubt circulated among the elders. Something about Ada didn't sit right with them. Strange occurrences had been happening since her arrival. Livestock were found dead, their bodies crushed as if by a massive constrictor. Some claimed to see shadows slithering through the village at night. "Be careful, Duro," warned Elder Neka. "There is a dark spirit surrounding that woman. You must seek answers before it's too late." Duro brushed off the warning. "Enough with these superstitions. Ada is not a spirit. She's just a woman." But deep down, unease gnawed at him. The wedding day was filled with music, dancing, and feasting. Ada looked radiant in her traditional attire, her beauty mesmerizing. As the sun set, the couple was led to their marital hut, where they were finally alone. Duro closed the door behind them and smiled. At last, you're mine. Ada didn't respond. She stood in the center of the room, her expression distant. Slowly, she turned to face him, her eyes reflecting the flickering lantern light in an unnatural way. Duro, she whispered, her voice trembling, I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you a long time ago. His smile faded. What is it? She hesitated, then took a deep breath. You promised to love me no matter what. Remember that. Before he could reply, Ada began to change. Her skin shimmered as if covered in a fine layer of scales. Her legs fused together, elongating into a massive tail. In seconds, she was no longer a woman but a giant snake with gleaming black and gold scales. Her human face melted into reptilian features, her eyes glowing like twin embers. Duro stumbled back, his heart pounding in terror. What are you? I am cursed, Ada hissed, her voice echoing unnaturally. I was once a guardian spirit of the forest. I took human form to escape my fate, but the curse remains. This is my true form. Duro's mind raced. The warnings, the strange occurrences, it all made sense now. He had married a serpent. You deceived me, he whispered, fear and betrayal clouding his thoughts. I didn't want to lose you, Ada said, her massive body coiling around the room. I thought you would understand. Duro shook his head, overwhelmed by fear. He bolted for the door, flinging it open and stumbling into the village square. She's a monster, he shouted. Ada is a giant snake. The villagers, awakened by his screams, gathered with torches and weapons. Ada slithered out of the hut, her massive form illuminated by the flames. Gasps and cries of terror erupted as the villagers saw the truth. Kill it, someone yelled. No, Duro yelled, suddenly filled with guilt. He had promised to protect her, to love her no matter what. Yet he had broken that promise in a moment of fear. Ada looked at him, her eyes filled with pain. This is why I hid the truth, she whispered. You can't love a monster. Before the villagers could attack, Ada fled into the forest, her enormous body crashing through the trees. The sound of her retreat echoed long after she disappeared into the darkness. Duro couldn't sleep for days. The image of Ada's tear-filled eyes haunted him. He realized that his fear had cost him the one person he truly loved. Determined to make things right, he ventured into the forest, calling her name. After days of searching, he found her near a sacred tree deep in the forest. She had returned to her human form, but her face was gaunt and sorrowful. Why are you here? She asked softly. I was a fool, he said, falling to his knees. I let fear control me. I don't care about your form. I love you, Ada. Please come back with me. Ada hesitated. How can I trust that you won't abandon me again? I will prove it, he said, stepping closer and placing his hand on her arm. I'm not afraid anymore. Slowly, Ada's expression softened. She reached out and touched his face. You have no idea how long I've waited to hear that. Together, they returned to the village. Though it took time, the villagers eventually accepted Ada. She used her powers to protect them, and her love with Duro grew stronger than ever. Their story became a legend, a tale of love, betrayal, and redemption that echoed through generations. The end.